You can hear my mouse click as I'm getting ready for you. You can hear my mouse click and my tongue too. It's cold over here. All right, welcome to today's episode of Cup of Joe. Yeah, this is Cup of Joe, where we pick at our scabs a bit earlier than we should. Just a bit. Please share this live stream. Of course, sharing is caring. Let's make this a party. Invite your friends. Share on your Facebook. You can text it to your mom. Actually, I feel like this is a really good show to watch with your mom. I don't know what that says about me or this show, but hopefully it does a little bit of this. Especially today, because today's theme is healing. Healing, that's right. Oh, a cough. Tuning in from Seattle. Hot chai in my mug. You know Seattle is like, well, it's one of my many homes, but I would say the 206 is like where it's the place I resided in the longest, and so I feel a very deep connection to that city. So give that city a hug for me while you're there. If you're tuning in, if you're here, say hello, drop something in the comments, let me know you're here. What's in your mug? Where are you tuning in from? All of those things. If you're liking it, then press like, press heart. Any of those things will help, bring people into the show. All right. Today, healing. We have as our guest, medicinal poet, priestess of the new paradigm, Niema Lightseed. Let's go over and say hello real quick. Hi, Niema.
Hello. Morning. So grateful to be here.
Oh, so happy to have you. We will be right back. We'll see you in a bit. Bye. Niema's fantastic. Oh my God, you're gonna really, we're gonna do a little bit of this with your heart, and then like a little bit of this, and then it's gonna be like. Mickey's tuning in with almond chai tea in Sacramento. Judith has coffee. Elisa Viejo, of course. Hi, Judith. Good to see you again. Chai tea. That sounds really good. I wish I had some chai tea. But I have coffee, which is really delicious. So support this program at Venmo or PayPal. You can see a link pinned in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. Hello to people who are viewing from Twitch as well. You can also see the information right. Oh God, this is hard to do when you're, there we go. Ha! Venmo at Joe Kai or PayPal, joe@joekai.com to help this keep going. All right, so here we go. Let's do a little song. This is a little cover, and I thought that at least the chorus of it, it's related to healing. Here we go. Let's see if you recognize it. Glad you accidentally ran into this as well, Angela. Welcome. Welcome to Cup of Joe. Bonnie is chiming in on YouTube here. You know I love Market Spice Tea from Seattle. You know that. That was my place. Doug, you gotta fill your mug, man. You gotta fill your mug with something. 'cause it's getting it's getting here we go. It's getting better all the time. Better. 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 A little Beatles for you. Reggae style. Better all the time. Better. It's getting 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 better all the time. So better. It's getting better all the time. Better. It's getting better all the time. Better. It's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. Jerry, Judy, it's getting better. Barat, you know it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. It's getting better all the time. Better. It's getting better all the time. Nice. All right. It's interesting because I'm watching right on the Facebook thing, and Facebook tries to caption things as they're being said. And it's sometimes successful, sometimes, most times it's not. Don't tell Facebook. And the lyrics are, it's getting better all the time. Better, better, better. And what it was saying, how Facebook captioned that was, I can't see it all the time. Which I think is apt for this topic of healing, right? I think my life, we kind of go up and down. We have these troughs and then we have these peaks. And I think for me, the goal is how can I kind of even that out and just kind of keep a general averaged upward trajectory. And sometimes you can't see it. When you're kind of like here, you can't see it. You can't see it getting better. And the idea that we can get better all the time is, that's probably why we fail and why we're so sad when things start going like this. When it's pretty much, I think, a natural cycle. All right, Mickey purchased a pair of blue Bluetooth headphones. Nice. You sound amazing through them. Yeah. Only it's all headphones. All headphones. All right. Here we go. We got one more song for you, and then we'll have Niema on. This is probably the song that was most healing for me to write. And I think many of you, if you have tuned in before, or if you know my music, then you'll recognize. If you do, please sing along. Mistakes, so have you. I make mistakes, so do you. I've made mistakes, so have you. I'll make mistakes, so will you. We Alrighty. Okay. Moving right along here. I hope you have your keyboard fingers ready. Um, keyboard fingers. Oh, I got to get those out. I hope you have questions because I'm getting ready to introduce medicinal poet, priestess of the new paradigm. Give it up for Niema Lightseed.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, everybody.
Hello, 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 hello. I'm gonna turn you up just a little bit.
Great.
Makes sense. Great. How's it going, Naima?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, so I'm grateful to be here, to be alive, to get to share some words and art. Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. I was thinking about healing where we are as a country, as a world. You know, you've got the pandemic, you have like mass political strife and conflict. You have the bubbling up of I think a lot of embedded anger and pain over injustice and inequity
Mhm.
that is now being revealed, I think, to a larger population. Um, and so, yeah, I think healing is, we need some of that. And so, yeah, when I was thinking about, okay, who can I possibly invite that might make me feel a little bit better? I was like, oh my God, Naima, without mincing truth, without hiding truth. In fact, I feel like, you reveal truth. Yeah. No comment.
I thank you. I'm just happy to bask in the praise. It's funny, Joe, because I've been, like so many of us, this pandemic's been really hard for me mentally and emotionally, and I haven't had the access to friends and community events and the way I feel connected. And so I've been feeling how am I contributing to the world? What am I doing? Like depression and anxiety, and so I actually did really need to just take that in for a minute of like, oh right, there's still the I think all of us have greater impact than we can ever actually be aware of, both positively and negatively. And I'm plagued often by this sense that like I'm not doing enough, whatever that would mean, and whatever external measure that would be. I think it has a lot to do with capitalism and how it teaches us that we're only good for what we produce. And so really being able to rest in, our impact on each other in some ways is one of the most powerful like legacies that we have.
And that impact reverberates, right?
Mhm.
It's not just like, done. The moment that when I first met you, right, we were in Sophie Lippert's living room and you shared your poetry and it floored me. And I can still go back to that moment in time and, and feel that. So yeah. Okay. So I got off the tracks here.
It's a great tangent.
It's a
Yeah,
great
back
tangent.
on course.
And it'll come back. The tangent will come back. Speaking of, yes, conversations like this, criticizing capitalism, brought to you by our awesome partners at Trailhead Coffee Roasters, who love hosting conversations like this. And they're all about ethical sourcing, but coffee is an interesting topic in and of itself. We had the conversation with Ken Yoshikawa last episode. If you have any questions for Naima, please post them in the comments, and we will, I'll do that with those questions mid-interview. So, any questions about anything, and of course, Naima, you have the right to say no comment. Okay, so a question that I start every interview with for every collaborator is if you have a childhood memory around creating or around the work that you do.
I do, and I love that I've been ruminating on this since you mentioned it a few days ago. And I strongly recall I think I was 5 or 6 when I finally cognitively understood what acting is. That like the stories and the people that I saw on, television or in movies were actors in costume telling a story and not like the real thing happening. And I was like, I want to do that. I remember being 6 years old and being like, I want to be an actress, a singer, and a dancer. And it was so this like clear sense of like, uh, wanting to, I think part of it might have been wanting to be in worlds other than one that I was in, but part of it was also just being so enamored by the magic of storytelling and that you could create, I mean, I didn't have all these words at 6, but that you could create an experience for someone else of transformation or catharsis or, tuning in with all of the different emotions that the human is capable of simply by putting on a role and telling a story. And it moved me from then. And it's still, even with the poetry, a key part of that is like, what is the story that I'm telling with the words that I say?
And that's a big veil to fall, right? And when you realize that the things that you're watching are not um, reality happening in that moment, right? They're kind of premeditated
Yeah.
creations that are being delivered.
But I don't remember having any disappointment with that the way I did when I found out like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny weren't real. It was a different kind of disillusionment. Like I went straight to the like, how magical is that you can do that? And I guess in theater school I learned of it as the theory of the like the illusion or the suspension of
Hmm.
disbelief that we as artists create, for ourselves and also for each other. We're like, we know that it's a screen, but an artist that is really has tapped into that stream of genius can make you forget that you're looking at a screen.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, of course it wasn't disappointing because you were like, I could do that.
Exactly, exactly.
um, One of the things, so I have twins for all those people out there that don't know. They are 1.5, and we've recently started playing pretend.
Mhm.
And we'll be reading a book, and there'll be like a mug or some cake or something, and then I'm like, oh, do you want some? And then like we'll be like, oh, like they'll and they'll we've started that world, and yeah, I don't know. It's amazing to me that we have that capability of knowing that something is not real, but creating it and enjoying it. I don't know. It's absurd. Yeah. Um, okay, so let's jump into a collaboration.
Great.
Could you introduce what we are about to do?
Yeah, so this poem, I call it prefigurative. And actually, I wrote it a couple years ago, but it just feels so appropriate for so much that we're facing right now. And, the insurrection we're in the midst of, and learning how to navigate through and hopefully on the other side of a pandemic. And really, I feel like we're watching the fall of an empire and the emergence of hopefully a healthier way of being as humanity. That I don't explain the poem too much before I share it, but it was born from a yearning to reach through to something beyond. So, and again, it's called prefigurative. The future, not fixed, draws us forward as we reach towards it. Spider tickles my skin. We are weavers, both. I draw filaments of light braided with heartstrings, play our yearning as a harp in a song not yet learned. Let the wind sing through me. Let the children's children's children sing to me. I am my mother's child. No thought alone will free mine of the legacy of slavery, only the careful unbinding of the dragon under my skin, whose volatile breath rips the pleasantries out of my mouth. The taste of ash gives me courage. I will scream, I will sing, I will speak until no more babies are beaten by the one sworn to tend them, until no more black churches crumble in flames, until no one looks at my flesh and decides I am less for it. See our scales, weak men playing God. See our claws and shudder. Recognize reckoning in my serpentine gaze. These underbellies, once rent and rewoven, wait for those willing to bear their own, can only be seen by those who have also braved fire and shame and trauma and learned the skill of grief, and that the hardest thing to do is tell the truth and then find one's voice and sing. The future, not fixed, draws us forward as we reach towards it. We learn that tears are pickaxes breaking through the concrete over our hearts, wails, the tethers that bring our soul pieces home, outraged howls, the hammers that destroy that which wastes life, fists to the sky and voices speaking truth to power, the shovels of the great turning. This weaving is not done in a day or a lifetime. We may not see the fruit, and it cannot be done alone. Uncertain, yet inevitable. Beauty calls us on. Chaos and infinity, a maelstrom, a concordance, the paradox of birthing a tomorrow where we can see the sky and drink the water. One part opening, envisioning our dancing grandchildren, creating through our believing. One part destroying, dismantling the structures that imprisoned our ancestors, healing through our unraveling. Seeds cannot grow in undigested shit. Learn how to make compost again. Let me feel your hot breath. I will not mind too much if you brush me with your scales. I know they're there beneath the patina of fragility and the weight of complacence. Don't tell me you have no time for the revolution, that it's not your job. We are too wily and too still wild for such nonsense. I will only listen to your tenderness, be it whisper or roar, and the truth that calls you on. Thank you.
Oh my goodness. What was that line? The shovels for the turning?
Yeah, the fists to the sky and voices speaking truth to power, the shovels of the great turning.
I love that. Just the scale of it first of all, right? This from the sky to the ground. And that we have to go in both directions too, right? You aspire and you're looking upward and you're hoping and moving, but even the earth that we are standing on, it also needs turning. It needs to, like, we need to do some work.
Oh, and also the metaphor of the, like, you know, the fist, the I see it as this, like, you know, we will not tolerate the conditions we find ourselves in, the voices speaking truth to power in the face of the sky. Like, and it's that, um, I don't call it discontent, but it's that like understanding of the incoherence that we're in, and like willingness to name that this is not healthy, this is not right, this is not
Mm.
true. That those are part of what breaks the ground so that the transformation can happen, and we can, turn toxic waste pile into compost and hopefully make it fertile again. And so there's only one part of that work, but it is this like willingness to not be, and that's kind of like the heart of the poem, is like, don't be complacent, don't stay asleep. Like there are things that are not, we know we're not in alignment with our greatest potential as humanity, and we need to let that out through our voices, and then, from that, from our own truth, be guided into the action we need to take to make a change.
Mm. I was listening to there's a podcast called On Being, which is like one of my favorite podcasts, and the most recent episode is an interview with Nikki Giovanni, and who's like all about Afrofuturism, and so that kind of idea of space and sky. But then there's something that she says in the interview that really like stuck with me, and I posted about it. Was she just says, essentially, I'm fertilizer. And obviously, there's, well, like we're all gonna die, but like what kind of fertilizer are you gonna be while you're here, right? And if we will pass, what do we leave behind, and how can we contribute to growth, as opposed to not? Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just trying to.
Yeah. Well, and I think about, like, when you say that, like Harriet Tubman, who found her way to freedom by following the river and listening to her dreams. And she had I forget the exact word. It's kind of like narcolepsy, but different. She would have these sleeping spells where she would pass out. But in those spells, she would get visions that she perceived as from God, and that's what helped her escape and would help her, free over 1,000 people. And there's just this like the what I'm speaking to, what I want to highlight, is the ability to tap into a future that you cannot actually physically see right now, because all evidence points towards slavery or points towards destruction, and we're on the brink of absolute climate collapse. We are on the edge of not being able to continue to live on the surface of this planet as a species. And so the immense imagination and actualization of the technologies we have, like mycelial remediation and algae, and the technology still needs to catch up a bit, but there's this, like, I think a big part of it is being able to imagine a future where we're actually equitable as a culture, and we're actually in right relationship with the earth and each other. And I really appreciate writers like Nikki Giovanni and Octavia Butler and N.K. Jemisin, and these Black Afrofuturist speculative fiction authors who envision, sometimes horrific and sometimes beautiful futures on the other side of the collapse that we're in. And all of them still include Black people, and that's a key. That's part of the pushback in Afrofuturism, is that, like, a lot of traditional speculative fiction doesn't include people of color in their visions of the future. And so to create visions where, or dream into and bring through and share visions where we actually live, we figured out how to get through these next few decades we're going to have to navigate, and people have food and water and can create art and are living in healthy balance, is a key part of the work, I think.
I apologize for rattling sounds
Of toddlers.
of the future generations dancing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so medicinal poet. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? Like, I've never seen that before. I'm a medicinal poet. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it started with the understanding that, I mean, I've been writing poetry since I was a preteen. Um, Nothing I would share until about my early 20s, but I would share these pieces and realize that people would give me the feedback that they had a really healing experience hearing me say the words, and that made me investigate it more. And I got into just a little bit of the theory of Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell, who like understand the archetypes and the functioning of the psyche, um, which is that we have these creative impulses that move through us, and we either let them move through and they become creative and they're our genius, or we don't let them come through and they destroy us. I'm, paraphrasing the
Sure.
words of Dr. Jung. Um, and it's for me the writing usually began and begins as I'm having a really intense experience, positive or negative, joy or grief. And if I don't give it an outlet, it's going to turn on me and destroy me somehow. And the grateful for the poetic, my muse, that it tends to come out beautifully. And then through years of practice, it's, that's refined into more and more of an art. But, and then I edit, most of the poems get edited as well. So much of art is editing. But there's this like, I have to get it out of me. And that's the initial impulse. And when I teach people poetry writing, so much of what I teach at the beginning is just like turning on the faucet, undamming the flow so that it can come. And then that is the catharsis, the healing practice for me. And then what makes it medicinal is through the editing process. And sometimes it comes out just like that, but sometimes I refine it into and what I'm intending is that it becomes like a tincture or an essential oil or a bit of medicine for the person who hears it, so that whatever am attempting to transmute through the words within myself can also potentially support that transmutation within the person who hears or reads the words.
Mm. Just digesting.
I love watching you take in what I
Yeah,
say. It's
I'm
like,
just
oh,
digesting it. Yeah, I think that's an interesting thought too. That um, of what you started out with is the idea that we all need to have that flow.
mhm.
And if we go back, I think to capitalism, I think we're kind of told you either are an artist or you're not.
Yeah.
And then if you're not, like, do this thing over and over again to be productive. Um, and I think whatever you're doing, having that creative outlet is so essential to that process of healing.
Well, I think the commodification of creativity is one of the great illnesses of the world today and of capitalism in particular, in that we are humans are creative by our very
Mm,
nature. We are designed to be an extent, I believe anyway, an extension of the creative force of life. And from how we interact with forest stewardship and tending gardens, and how we have our
mm,
thumbs and our tongues and we can manipulate our environment, all the way to creating what we might call art, like poetry or
sure.
sculpture or building or whatnot. And it's the idea that there's a place for professionalism, there's a place for
Sure.
specialization, but the idea that there are some people who are artists and some people who are not, I think is very destructive. And that really we are all artists. There are different areas we focus on, but there's both the like, we all have that which is our creative joy that comes out. For some people it's cooking, for some people it's creating forest adventures. There's a whole, anything you do can be art if you bring that spirit to it. And there's this like this understanding of ourselves that all of nature and all of life is inherently creative, and we are a part of that.
Mm. Yeah, and I like what you're saying about the inherentness of it. Like I just said, right? These kids are 1.5. They've never been taught how to pretend, right, or act. And they're like, oh,
Right.
there's like a picture of a cookie. Like, let's pretend to eat it. And how delicious is that cookie, right?
Uh-huh.
Um,
Right.
that they know to say that. And then yeah, now you're an adult and you're a professional. Like, stop doing that. It makes no sense. Um,
It's to turn people into
mm,
products, into producers, rather, producers and consumers, rather than honoring the
yes.
humanity and the inherent creativity that we do have.
Um, yes. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you, Dom Camacho on YouTube for chiming in. If anybody has questions for Naima, this is the time please rate it in the comments, and I will be sure to ask. But while we're waiting for that, I have another question for you, Naima, which is,
Mhm.
so at the beginning of the interview, you talked about kind of 5, 6 year old Naima looking at the TV and realizing that, yeah, like you were saying, right, that these people are participating in that act of creation and delivering that act of creation to you. And curious now, in the Naima now, what would the Naima now, if you could go back in time and just sit down with 5, 6 year old Naima, what would you tell Naima?
Oh, huh. Gosh, that's a great question. Um, I would I would tell her, as I think about it, like the one of the biggest sadnesses of my life is how I don't know, shy I'd been for a lot of my growing up, and this is a lot of like self-worth and conditioning things. And so I would try to encourage her to trust her playfulness
Hmm.
more and trust her that what other people would call weirdness, and that to like kind of warn her that most people are not going to understand her and that people will call her crazy and strange and that that's actually a gift
Mm.
and that the that which is wild and true and unique within her is going to become that which is the greatest gift she can offer to the world.
Take that to your heart.
Yeah, yeah. If you get a time machine, you can go back to your 5 or 6 year old self. Tell them that.
Yeah. I love that, and I love the idea of weirdness or kind of existing at the margins, and
Mhm.
because I think
Yeah.
it gives us that perspective. If you're right there in the middle of things, you have very little perspective. But when you're standing on the kind of margins of whatever space you may be in, you have that view of what is normal. And I think that's the unique gift that artists have, right? Is we are often weird people. We stand
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
mar
Well, I think that's part of our
right.
job. Part of our role as artists is to be visionary,
Yes.
is to be on the edge of what is perceived as normal or mainstream and weave those possibilities into the collective mind sphere.
Collective mind sphere. I love it. I love it. Uh, nice. Chris Lee loves this conversation. Wayne, I think if young Naima would be able to see who she grows up to be, that would be encouragement enough. Oh,
Oh,
Wayne. Oh. Um,
thank you.
and Daniel asks, "How did you get so beautiful?" I'm sure he means in
Oh.
every sense of that word. Um,
Thanks.
there's a yeah.
Honestly, a lot of grief
Mm.
and a lot of like moving through the insanity of this world and continuing to return to the truth of myself, and then a lot of a self acceptance.
Oh, I am healed.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Naima.
Oh,
I know you have a course that you're teaching coming up
yeah.
soon. Can you talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuesday evenings in March, I'm teaching through the Portland Underground Graduate School, PUGS, a class called Disarming Our Language. And it's transforming internalized oppression through words. So it's writing, discussion, lecture, all designed to examine our unconscious biases, the way we either perpetuate or heal our internalized oppression, and then by extension, how we oppress others through the words that we say and the thoughts we think.
And I love the idea of disarming the language, right? That
Mhm.
embedded in the language in and of itself, we have, these like rifles and grenades and things that,
Yeah.
um,
Well, English itself is a very military language. It's based on a lot of war, and we don't. Most of us aren't even aware how many of the things we say were originally like war
mhm.
terms. So to like like recognize that and shift that and we can't, most of us aren't going to completely change like use a different language, not English, as our primary way of communicating, but we can use English in a way that's more mindful.
Right. I love that. And then I just heard like the Oregonians like give me back, like don't take my words away, like come and get it. Okay. Mickey says that was a very healing experience, as it was for me. Thank you so much for everything that you do, Niema, and just sending gratitude and love to you, because every time I interact with you, it's a beautiful and uplifting experience.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate collaborating with you.
Boom. At Niema Lightseed, please follow her on Instagram, and we will talk soon.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Man. Oh, Lord. Just, I totally agree, Daniel. Beautiful people dispensing and creating and delivering beauty around. So, okay. So what do I even do? What do I even do now? Improv suggestions. If you have suggestions on what to improvise to close out the show, please post them in the comments. While I wait for that, 2 weeks from now, we have Douglas Dietrich, who is a jazz musician, a podcaster, a composer, and also the artistic director of Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble, and a collaborator of mine, who I really appreciate for just the level of thought, and not like thought, but like thought. He has some amazing projects in the work. We'll host him in 2 weeks, so make sure to tune in then on the last day of January. I think it's the 28th or something of that nature. Thank you, of course, to all of Cup of Joe supporting partners, including Bravo Youth Orchestra, OregonBravo.org, as well as Trailhead Coffee Roasters, whose coffee I was enjoying throughout the show. Thank you, of course, to every single one of you out there tuning in, enjoying the show, posting in the comments. It's what keeps me going, and it's what keeps me going. So thank you very much. All right, so closing out, we're going to do a little improv. I have no improv suggestions, so I'm just going to scroll through the comments that we have here and just make some stuff up. Here we go. Chai. Tea. Tea. Chai. Tea. Chai. Tea. Chai. Tea. Chai. Tea. Chai. ran into this. Ouch. Clap, 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 clap. I have matcha here in Chicago. Okay, Sean, matcha. Flexing on us. Love it. 420 in the mug. Tuning in from Washington State. Thought. It's definitely not my thing, says Doug. No, I agree. But just, This is. Bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Yeah, bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Yeah, bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Yeah, bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Yeah, bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Bam, bam, I hear you in the loop. Yeah, bam, bam. Have a great weekend, Mickey. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Cup of Joe every 2 weeks. A little bit of thought. I wish healing for you. I wish healing for us as a country, as a world, from physical ailments to political ailments, to internal ailments of loneliness, which I think a lot of us are suffering with right now. Hopefully, Niema's words, we can take that forward and have a little bit of warmth in our hearts for ourselves as well as those around us. I'll see you next week. 2 weeks from now, I mean.